So after the Portland Trailblazers finally released their GM Neil O'Shea after multiple reports of workplace misconduct, Shams decided to release a piece about the Blazers situation as a whole this season and some stuff that was going on internally. And anything that pertains to the Blazers as a whole is going to strongly pertain to Damian Lillard. According to the report, or well, according to the tweets that I read that summarize the report because I'm not paying for an athletic subscription, there is tension between Damian Lillard and the Blazers, really more in particular Damian Lillard and Chauncey Billups. And Dame also reportedly asked for the Blazers, and specifically Neil O'Shea, to trade for Ben Simmons, and the Blazers actually attempted this. So let's just talk about this whole report and the Portland Trailblazers as a whole. Let's get into it. Before I continue on with this video, about half the people that watch these videos are not subscribed, so if you fall in that 50%, then please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 200k subscribers on this channel by the end of the year, so your subscription would be much appreciated. Of course, we're in December now, so the shot clock's about to expire, and if you are new here and you could subscribe, I would really appreciate it to help me achieve that goal. I'm uploading 6 days a week on this channel, though if you could reward the effort, I'd appreciate it. Also, drop a like on this video, helps it do better in the YouTube algorithm. So in this video, I want to look at the situation going on in Portland and just the Blazers as a whole, because I don't think this is some big situation. I want to look at all of this as objectively as possible, because I've made very opinionated videos about the Blazers in the past and recent history. I have expressed my frustration in this broken marriage between Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers and how much I want the divorce to happen already. However, with that frustration, there is also a subsection of Blazers fans and of course Damian Lillard himself who kind of get tired of hearing shit like that from me and the NBA media and NBA fans in general. So let's look at this as objectively as humanly possible while looking at all perspectives. Real quick, let's talk about the two major things from this report. As for the Ben Simmons thing, the report seems to indicate that Dame specifically asked for that trade to happen, and then the Sixers ended up getting an offer from the Blazers with them offering CJ and a first-round pick. The Sixers ended up declining this trade because they want to keep this circus going until we're all dead. But this is something that apparently happened. Assuming that this report is true, and Shams is about as credible of a source as it gets, this means that Damian Lillard, albeit indirectly, asked for CJ McCollum to be traded. So that is why I think Dame ended up tweeting, and he kind of does this with media stuff in general, but especially in this case, went out of his way to say that this was all bullshit. I would say that it being public that he asked for a trade that would have got CJ out of Portland is not great for that relationship. And then as for the conflict with Chauncey Billups, that one I think makes a lot more sense, and really just like Chauncey Billups sucks, but I guess I'll explain why. Chauncey Billups has managed to change nothing substantially with this team, and being that he was replacing a guy who was known for being one of the worst coaches in basketball, that is not exactly ideal. Chauncey was supposed to help the defense, and yet they're still the worst defense in the NBA, and even their offense has taken a dip from last year. Granted, most of that could be blamed on Lillard's early season struggles due to injury. But the thing is, with this report, with Chauncey, with Ben Simmons, with all of this, ultimately it comes to the same thing where it's like at the end of the day, this doesn't really matter in terms of changing things drastically. Sure, fire Chauncey Billups. He shouldn't have been hired in the first place, so go for it. But I think you could get the best coach in basketball and you're still not going to get a championship out of this roster, or really even anything close to it. And sure, trade CJ McCollum for Ben Simmons. Ultimately though, even though I think that would lead to a more balanced roster, it would lead to Damian Lillard having more shot responsibility, which he already has a fuck ton of. So I don't know if that really is going to balance out all that well. The defense will improve, but the offense will get worse. Maybe the trade-off is worth it. But again, I don't think you're becoming that significantly better with that move. Ultimately, making that trade, firing Chauncey Billups, none of that is going to change the fact that this roster is not good enough to do what you want to do with Dame, which is win a championship. Do what Dame wants to do in Portland, which is win a championship. A new coach and Ben Simmons isn't a big enough fix. Not even close. Sure, they could become another solid above average team again as they have been before, but they're not getting further than heights that they have already reached. And what does not help this entire situation is these reports of Dame having some sort of contempt with something going on with the Blazers. And then literally every time even a hint of some frustration comes out in the media, Dame immediately shits all over it like it's a nothing story. And it's like, am I really supposed to believe you on that? Now, I'm not necessarily saying 100% that these are not all lies, though Shabs is a very reliable source. He has said things that aren't true before. But at a certain point, if all of these things are coming out constantly, either one of two things is happening. The entirety of all of NBA media is universally making shit up out of thin air, or there is at the very least some smoke for a potential fire. And while I hate the NBA media to the extent that you could actually convince me it's the first one, the second one's a lot more likely. At the same time, I do, to some extent, understand where the frustration comes from Damian Lillard and Damian Lillard fans who, in particular, want to keep him in Portland, because I've noticed when I do videos about the Blazers and their situation, there's like a divide where Blazers fans are like, no, fuck you, and there are some that are like, look, I don't want Dame to be traded, but you're probably right. Respect to those people, but for the no fuck you guys, I do understand where you're coming from. Not the fuck you part. You don't have to be rude about it. But your team trading their superstar player, who for a lot of you has been what you know that team to be for your entire lives if you're young, it's not a fun concept. I went through the same shit when the Bulls were trying to trade Jimmy Butler when I was young. But at the same time, you gotta understand where people are coming from with wanting the best for Dame and it not being in Portland. I'm getting on a tangent. I understand where the frustration comes from those people and from Damian Lillard, because Dame has said time and time again that he is loyal to the Blazers. Now, to me, it comes off as frustrating that he has to say it all the time, and it can get a little fucking annoying, but also he kind of has to because people are constantly questioning him about it. So to that extent, I understand where the frustration comes from. There's really just frustration from everyone involved, and it's just a never-ending cycle of misery. Sounds like a good like metal song. Never-ending cycle of misery. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna come to the same conclusion that I did with my last big Blazers video. All we're doing here is just running down the clock. Either until Damian Lillard cracks and finally asks out, the Blazers trade him on their own volition because they realize that what they're doing is going nowhere, or both sides commit to going nowhere until Damian Lillard retires and a career has been wasted. It has to end at some point, and ultimately we are just spending time arguing over inconsequential things. In the big picture, a move happens with Dame or he retires, and that's the only thing that's really gonna fucking matter at the end of the day. Happy note to end on. Shout out to Riddy for editing this video, but that's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.